Imagine being a father, swimming in chest-deep waters with your daughter by your side, thinking everything is safe. But in an instant, you look beside you. A shark has clamped down on your daughter's arm, the water around her turning red with blood. Desperation kicks in as you struggle to save her, battling both the predator and the terrifying reality that time is slipping away. This is exactly what happened to the Serrano family on what was supposed to be a peaceful day at Mustang Island, and the nightmare had only just begun. April Serrano was a vibrant 16-year-old, full of life and creativity. Easter vacation had just begun, and the Serrano family from Corpus Christi, Texas, had chosen to spend the day at Mustang Island, one of their favorite spots for a family outing. April, the eldest daughter, was excited to have a day at the beach, soaking in the sun and enjoying the ocean with her family. The Serrano family consisted of her father, Robert, her mother, Beth, her younger sister Anna, aged 11, and her younger brother Ethan, aged 10. On April 16, 1989, they packed their things and arrived at Mustang Island early, eager to relax by the water. The beach was relatively quiet, with a few families scattered along the shore, but it wasn't completely deserted. The warmth of the sun, the gentle breeze, and the lapping waves set the tone for a perfect family day. After they set up their spot on the sand, April and her father decided to venture into the water. They waded about 75 feet from the shore, the water reaching their chests, while Beth stayed behind with Anna and Ethan, who were building sand castles near the shore. The water was murky, but neither April nor her father paid much attention to it as they enjoyed their time together. They started playing games, laughing and teasing each other as they splashed in the cool water. One of their favorite challenges was seeing who could hold their breath underwater the longest. April, competitive as always, won easily and was in high spirits as they continued enjoying the moment. April floated on the water's surface, arms spread, feeling the waves gently lap against her skin. Her father was only a few feet away, both of them enjoying the tranquility of the day. Suddenly, April felt something brush against her arm. She paused, frowning slightly, assuming it was seaweed or a passing fish. She shook her arm, trying to brush off the odd feeling. However, the feeling persisted. April's instincts kicked in, and she quietly called out to her father, sensing that something wasn't right. Before she could fully process it, a sharp pain exploded through her arm. She gasped, looking down, and saw a dark shape rising from the depths. Her heart raced. It was too late. The shark had already clamped down on her arm. Robert turned at the sound of his daughter's gasp, his heart sinking as he saw the 5-foot bull shark latched onto her arm. He quickly rushed toward her, the water swirling with blood. Instinctively, he grabbed her and began hitting the shark, trying to force it to let go. After several blows, the shark finally released her, disappearing back into the depths. But when Robert looked at April's arm, his worst fear was realized. Her arm was gone, severed just above the elbow. Blood poured into the water as Robert wrapped his arm around April and began pulling her toward the shore. The shark circled them again, its dark shadow visible just below the surface. In desperation, Robert grabbed the shark's dorsal fin as it passed, holding on for about 20 seconds, wrestling with it to keep it away from his daughter. Eventually, the shark broke free and swam off into deeper water. April was dragged onto the shore, her strength fading fast. Beth, having witnessed the entire attack, immediately sprang into action, while Ethan and Anna watched in horror, abandoning their sandcastle. Beth used her first aid training, tightly wrapping beach towels around April's arm to stop the bleeding. Beachgoers quickly gathered. One man prayed softly while another helped move April further up the sand. Others rushed to find a phone to call for help. As the minutes passed, tension grew as they fought to keep April conscious. Finally, the sound of an approaching helicopter signaled that help was on the way. When the paramedics arrived, they quickly stabilized April and prepared her for transport. She was airlifted to Christus Spohn Hospital in Corpus Christi, the nearest facility equipped for severe trauma. At the hospital, surgeons worked tirelessly to repair the damage, but the injury was too severe. They were forced to amputate the remaining portion of her arm to prevent further complications. Surviving such an attack was rare, but thankfully April did. After the surgery, her resilience shone through. She told the doctors she was determined to learn how to draw with her left hand, refusing to let the trauma stop her from pursuing her passion. Following the attack, there was public outcry about the beaches remaining open, particularly with Easter weekend approaching. Many questioned why no closures had been enforced, but authorities assured the public that shark attacks were rare and additional incidents were unlikely. Despite assurances from authorities that shark attacks are rare, our research tells a different story. The ocean is a dangerous place, and entering it is a risk you must take on your own. One person who took that risk was Brandon McAllister. While surfing with friends, Brandon spotted a great white shark and, with a selfless heart, warned them of the danger. But before he could react, the unthinkable happened. Brandon McAllister was a man who lived for the thrill of the ocean. At 26, he was already a respected figure within Adelaide's surf community. Known for his natural talent on the waves, Brandon exuded confidence and charisma. For him, the ocean was a place of freedom and adventure, and every weekend he would head out with his friends to chase the perfect waves along the South Australian coast. Though he lived in the city, his heart belonged to the rugged coastlines of the Eyre Peninsula, particularly Coffin Bay Beach, near the town of Port Lincoln. Known for its beauty and challenging waves, Coffin Bay was also home to something far more menacing: great white sharks. While shark attacks were rare, with only a few incidents reported each year, Brandon would soon find himself face to face with the ocean's ultimate predator. The weekend of April 12, 2016, began like so many others for Brandon and his group of surfing friends. The five of them had a tradition. Almost every weekend, they loaded up a small, worn-out bus that they had collectively bought just for these trips. That morning, they headed to the beach where the calm seas and gentle waves hinted at a perfect day of surfing. After unloading their gear, they quickly hit the waves, the hot sun burning above and the salty air filling their lungs. For hours they rode the ocean's energy, each wave bringing with it a fresh sense of accomplishment. Eventually, fatigue set in, and with thoughts of lunch at the beach club, the group decided it was time to head back to shore. What they didn't realize, however, was that for Brandon that lunch would never happen. Silently, beneath the surface, a 15-foot great white shark had been drawn closer, lured by the sounds and movement of the group. None of them knew that Brandon was directly in its path. As he caught a wave in an attempt to reach the shore faster, he lost balance, crashing into the water. It was just as he struggled to climb back onto his board that he spotted the dark, menacing shadow beneath him. His heart pounded in his chest. Without wasting a second, Brandon shouted to his friends, his voice sharp with fear, warning them to get out of the water immediately. His friends, instantly understanding the gravity of the situation, began paddling frantically toward the shore, occasionally glancing back, desperate to see if Brandon would make it too. Brandon tried to follow, but panic gripped him as he fought to escape. Then, in a split second, the ocean erupted. The great white surged upward from the depths, its massive jaws clamping onto Brandon's upper thigh, lifting him out of the water. The bite was savage, tearing through muscle and flesh with terrifying ease. Brandon screamed, the pain overwhelming, but the nightmare wasn't over. The shark struck again, this time sinking its teeth into his lower leg, its powerful jaws shredding through him with deadly precision. Miraculously, after the second bite, the shark let go, likely realizing this wasn't its usual prey. But the damage was catastrophic. The confident Brandon was now gone, replaced by a man terrified for his life, drifting helplessly in the blood-stained water. His friends rushed to his aid, pulling him onto one of their surfboards and pushing toward shore as fast as they could. As they paddled back, Brandon's voice broke through the chaos, repeating in a broken whisper, "I'm going to die, I'm going to die." Despite the quick response, McAllister's condition was dire. His four friends screamed for help as they frantically paddled him to shore. Onlookers, drawn by the chaos, began to gather on the beach, watching in shock as the scene unfolded. Lifeguards, who had already witnessed the attack from their tower, were ready and waiting. They rushed into action the moment Brandon's limp body hit the sand, administering CPR as paramedics arrived on the scene. Blood soaked the beach as the minutes dragged on. But despite their relentless efforts, the damage was too severe. McAllister had lost too much blood. After several desperate attempts to revive him, lifeguards and paramedics were forced to stop. He was pronounced dead at the scene, the reality of the tragedy sinking in for everyone who had witnessed it. In the aftermath of the attack, the community mourned the loss of Brandon McAllister, a surfer well known for his trips to Coffin Bay Beach. Experts believe the great white shark's initial bite was likely an exploratory one, as these sharks often test unfamiliar objects in this way. Sadly, the first bite to Brandon's thigh caused catastrophic damage. A second, more devastating bite followed before the shark released him, likely realizing its mistake. Despite this, the injuries were too severe to survive, and the mystery of what triggered the attack remains unsolved. Did you know that when a great white shark attacks, it can strike with the speed of a car racing at 35 miles per hour? That's exactly what happened to Jose, an abalone diver off the coast of Peru. In a split second, the shark tore off his arm, and his head wasn't spared either, leaving a chilling reminder of the ocean's brutal dangers. It was the morning of January 5, 1992, and the air was still as Jose Lorenzo prepared for what seemed like a routine fishing trip off Punta Negra. Jose, a 38-year-old man, had spent most of his life at sea. Born and raised on the Chilean coast, the ocean had always been his second home. Fishing wasn't just a job for him, it was a way of life, one that offered both fulfillment and the opportunity to support his family. His love for the sea went hand in hand with his work as a diver, harvesting the much sought-after Chilean abalone. Known locally as locos, this abalone is a prized delicacy along the Pacific coasts of Chile and Peru. Its tender, flavorful meat is highly coveted, not just for its taste, but for the significant income it can bring. Fishermen like Jose can make a good living by harvesting locos, but with high rewards come high risks. Harvesting these ocean treasures requires divers to brave the Pacific's rocky shores and venture into deep waters. Every dive held the promise of valuable rewards, but also the looming danger that the same waters, abundant with life, could quickly become a deadly battleground. This morning, Jose was accompanied by two of his diving buddies as they ventured out on their boat. They anchored just a few feet from shore, ready to begin their work. With his pry bar in hand, Jose was prepared to extract locos from their hiding spots among the rocky seabed. Without hesitation, he slipped into the water, breaking its calm surface with a smooth dive. The cool embrace of the sea welcomed him as he descended, his collection bag trailing behind him, waiting to be filled. For the next 30 minutes, Jose moved skillfully through the depths, prying locos from the rocks and even spearing a few curious fish that ventured too close. His experience as a diver was evident with each precise movement, but as he checked his haul, it wasn't what he had hoped for. The bags were lighter than expected, leaving a hint of frustration in his gut. Not one to give up easily, Jose climbed back aboard the boat, signaling to his crew that they would push further out to find a richer spot. The promise of a greater catch lay just beyond the horizon, and he was determined to find it. After searching the coastline, Jose and his crew found what seemed like a promising new location, about 60 feet from shore. The water here had a certain clarity, and the rocky formations below hinted at the presence of abalone. Jose had a good feeling about this spot. He turned to his buddies, flashed a grin, and with a sense of optimism, said goodbye as he dove in, unaware that this would be his most dangerous dive yet. What none of them realized was that they had anchored too close to a sea lion colony, a notorious hunting ground for larger predators. As Jose descended, the ocean around him felt peaceful, almost serene. The water was about 30 feet deep here, and after just a few moments of searching, he spotted a cluster of locos clinging to the rocks below. His pry bar was ready, and as he carefully extracted the abalone from its hiding place and slipped it into his bag, The tranquility was suddenly shattered. Out of the corner of his eye, Jose caught a flash of movement, a shadow moving faster than anything in the ocean should. Before he could fully register what was happening, the massive form of a great white shark appeared, gliding silently toward him. Panic surged through his body as he instinctively raised his left arm in defense, but it was too late. The shark's immense jaws snapped shut, clamping down on his upper body with unimaginable force. Razor-sharp teeth ripped through his wetsuit, tearing into his flesh as his left arm and shoulder were torn apart in a violent, blood-chilling instant. Above the surface, Jose's crew didn't immediately grasp the nightmare that was unfolding below. It wasn't until the sea turned a deep, ominous red, and the enormous shape of a great white shark emerged with what remained of Jose's upper body in its jaws, that they realized the horrifying truth. Stunned and overwhelmed, they could only watch as the shark held their friend, his head and left arm gone, his body mangled almost beyond recognition. Nearby boats noticed the commotion and sped over, their crews desperate to help. The motormen revved their engines loudly, sending powerful vibrations through the water. The noise worked, and the massive shark finally veered away. Taking advantage of the brief moment, Jose's crew quickly retrieved his remains and, without hesitation, raced toward the shore, where emergency services awaited, ready to act. Despite their swift return, there was nothing more that could be done. The entire coastal community was left in shock by the tragedy. Jose's attack was something none of them had ever experienced before. His diving companions, shaken to their core by the horror, vowed never to return to the ocean again. An autopsy later revealed the extent of his injuries: decapitation at the 7th cervical vertebra, and his left arm and shoulder torn from his body. The great white shark responsible was estimated to be over 19 feet long, one of the largest seen in the region in recent years. Jose Lorenzo's death proved that the ocean's true rulers are its predators, and no amount of money is worth the risk of your life. The next story is truly horrifying. On April 20th, 1972, at Pismo Beach, California, a young boy was attacked by not one but 3 sharks on what began as a bright, sunny day. The beach was packed with families, all enjoying the warm weather and calm waters. It was a perfect day for a father and son outing. 10-year-old Stephen Harris was eager to try out his brand new snorkeling gear, and his father, Robert Harris, was looking forward to a relaxing day by the water. These beach trips had become their cherished bonding time, away from the stress of daily life. As Stephen eagerly waded into the water, Robert reminded him not to swim beyond 50 feet from the shore. After giving the reminder, Robert took a brief swim of his own, before heading back to the shore to relax. Stephen, now around that distance out, found the spot perfect for snorkeling, with its calm waters teeming with marine life. The vibrant underwater world captivated him, and he had no desire to venture any further, content with the wonders just below the surface. Unbeknownst to the beachgoers, including Stephen and Robert, a group of teenage anglers further down the coast were fishing recklessly, using animal blood as bait. Their irresponsible actions attracted several sharks, bringing them dangerously close to the area where swimmers were enjoying the water. As Stephen floated in the water, his head occasionally bobbing above the surface, he suddenly spotted what appeared to be a dark shape cutting through the waves. With water droplets clinging to his snorkel mask, his vision blurred for a moment. He blinked, unsure if it was a shark's fin or just a trick of the light. Panic began to creep in, but before he could fully process what he had seen, a large shadow surged toward him, and a massive shark lunged, biting down on his left calf with devastating force. Stephen screamed in pain as the shark's teeth tore through his leg. In the confusion of thrashing water, another sharp pain ripped through his arm as he was bitten again, and then a third savage strike hit him across his lower back. The water around him turned red as the brutal attack unfolded, leaving him bloodied and surrounded by violence. From the shore, Robert Harris heard his son's screams and saw violence splashing in the distance. Panicked, Robert sprinted toward the ocean, but as he got closer, he realized his son was trapped in a deadly struggle, and he was powerless against the predator. The beach was thrown into chaos. Families and swimmers screamed in horror, rushing to safety. No one dared enter the water, fearing for their lives, except for Thomas Fletcher, a nearby surfer who witnessed the attack from a short distance away. With no hesitation, he paddled toward Stephen, determined to save the boy despite the clear danger. As Fletcher approached, he saw the shark circling Stephen, its dorsal fin slicing through the water. Risking his life, Fletcher used his surfboard to strike at the predator, fending it off just long enough to reach the severely injured boy. Despite the immense danger, Fletcher managed to pull Stephen onto his surfboard. Just as he did, he noticed more fins in the water. There wasn't just one shark, but 3 of them, circling and ready to strike again. The sharks stayed close as Fletcher paddled fiercely back toward the shore. Robert, now waist-deep in the water, rushed in to help pull the board with his son to safety. A lifeguard, already in the water, quickly joined them, helping to push the surfboard the final stretch. Once on the beach, other lifeguards immediately applied first aid to Stephen, who was bleeding heavily from deep wounds to his leg, arm, and back. He was barely conscious, and his survival seemed uncertain as blood loss rapidly took its toll. Stephen was rushed to French Hospital Medical Center in San Luis Obispo, where surgeons fought through the night to save him. He required over 1,000 stitches to close the gaping wounds, but miraculously, he survived. In the aftermath, an investigation revealed that the teenage anglers, irresponsibly using animal blood as bait, had attracted the sharks, 3 large sharks, which appeared to be bull sharks, to the area. This sparked widespread criticism of both the teenagers and beach safety officials for not having proper shark deterrents or warnings in place. Stephen would never forget the day he narrowly escaped death in the jaws of 3 sharks, and thanks to the bravery of the surfer, Thomas Fletcher, he survived. It was mid-August 2004, off the coast of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, where 3 friends, all in their mid to late 20s, had come to unwind after months of intense fieldwork. Tristan Dawes, Owen Carter, and Eva Martinez had met during their marine research projects and quickly bonded over their shared passion for the ocean and their mutual love of fishing. Eager for some well-deserved relaxation, they rented a boat and set out early on the second day of their trip, armed with rods, reels, and a cooler stocked with cold beers. Their plan was simple: fish, laugh, and enjoy the peacefulness of the Atlantic waters. By mid-morning, they had anchored their boat a few miles offshore, in waters known for their rich marine life. The sun reflected off the gentle waves, and the atmosphere aboard the boat was light and carefree. As they cast their lines into the water, they chatted about their latest research, the joy of being out on the water, and the anticipation of a good catch. Not long after, Tristan felt a powerful tug on his line. His rod bent sharply, and the reel whirred as whatever he had hooked began to pull. Excitement filled the air as Tristan struggled to reel in what they all assumed was a large fish. But before anyone could fully comprehend what was happening, the surface of the water erupted, revealing the sleek, unmistakable form of a 17-foot great white shark. The friends stared in shock, their excitement turning to dread in an instant. The shark thrashed violently, pulling hard against the line. Tristan barely had time to react before the shark jerked with immense force, yanking him overboard and into the water. The ocean swallowed Tristan in an instant. Panic flashed in Owen and Eva's eyes as they watched their friend disappear beneath the surface. Moments later, Tristan resurfaced, but the nightmare had already begun. The shark, driven by its predatory instincts, had bitten down on Tristan's left leg, leaving a deep, gaping wound just below the knee. The pain was excruciating, but Tristan's fight was far from over. As he fought to get back to the boat, the shark struck again, this time clamping onto his right leg at the calf. The force of the bite fractured the bone and left another deep wound. Blood clouded the water around Tristan, and the situation grew dire. On the boat, Owen hesitated, uncertain whether jumping in would help, as Eva frantically looked around for boats and screamed, but saw no one. He tried to strike the shark with his fishing rod, but it was just out of reach. Owen knew that jumping in could be deadly, which made him hesitate on the boat, but he also knew he had to act. Then, for a brief moment, the shark paused its attack, circling slowly as if assessing the situation. Seeing his chance, Owen finally jumped into the water, seizing the only opportunity to save his friend. The shark was still present, but Owen's quick move caught it off guard. He grabbed Tristan under the arms, and together with Eva's help from the boat, they managed to haul him on board just as the shark began to circle again, this time more aggressively. Once on the boat, Owen and Eva quickly switched from friends to professionals. Their marine biology training, especially in emergency responses, took over. They applied pressure to the wounds, and Owen quickly tore off his shirt, fashioning it into a makeshift tourniquet. Tristan was conscious, but weak, slipping in and out of awareness as they worked to stabilize him. Eva grabbed the radio and contacted emergency services. With the shark still circling, Owen started the boat and sped back to shore. The usually tranquil ride back, which took about 10 minutes, was now a blur of adrenaline and focused action. Tristan's life hung in the balance, but Owen and Eva's quick thinking and well-honed skills kept him alive until they reached the dock. As they arrived at Jacksonville Beach, paramedics were already waiting, alerted by Eva's call. Tristan was quickly transferred to an ambulance and rushed to Jacksonville Memorial Hospital, where a team of surgeons was ready to perform emergency surgery. Hours later, after tense waiting, the news came that Tristan's condition had been stabilized. The surgery had been successful, but his road to recovery would be long. However, doctors were optimistic that with time, Tristan would regain full mobility. In the aftermath, the incident was hailed as one of the best-handled shark attack emergencies in recent history. Thanks to Owen and Eva's quick actions and calm under pressure, Tristan's life was saved. In the summer of 1931, on the evening of August 30th, deep within the tranquil shores of Barbers Point, Hawaii, two siblings embarked on a swim that would take a horrific turn, altering their lives forever. Lani Kiloha, 25, was a vibrant young woman known throughout her village for her adventurous spirit and deep love for the ocean. She had grown up with the sea as her playground, finding both joy and solace in its endless waves. Her younger brother, Koa, 18, was the more cautious of the two, always watching out for his sister. Though he shared Lani's love for the ocean, Koa approached it with a respect that bordered on wariness, ever mindful of the dangers that lay beneath its serene surface. That evening, after a particularly long and exhausting day of work, Lani felt an irresistible pull toward the water. Their usual swim around sunset, typically around 6 p.m., had been delayed, and they arrived a few hours later. Despite the late hour, the siblings decided to proceed with their swim, eager to wash away the day's stress in the cool embrace of the ocean. They waded into the water, feeling the familiar chill invigorate them after the hot day. Koa stayed closer to shore, while Lani ventured out nearly 50 feet, where the water deepened and the vibrant sea life below caught her attention. Koa kept an eye on his sister from a distance, noting her position in the deeper waters. As he felt himself cooling down and the sky began to darken, he was about to call out to Lani, suggesting they head back to the beach, when he noticed something. A massive fin slicing through the water, moving swiftly toward her. In an instant, the tranquility of the evening was shattered. An 18-foot great white shark erupted from the water, its massive jaws clamping down on Lani. The force of the attack dragged her under, the water around her turning red as Koa watched in horror, too far away to reach her in time. The last thing he saw was Lani's hand, briefly breaking the surface, before she was pulled into the depths. Koa froze, his mind struggling to grasp the nightmare unfolding before him. Desperation surged through him, and he began swimming frantically towards where Lani had disappeared. But he knew it was too late. It was only the roar of an approaching boat that snapped him out of his shock. Kaipo Maho, an elderly fisherman who had been watching from a distance, was racing towards them. Kaipo steered his boat rapidly towards Koa, pulling him aboard as the younger man stammered out what had happened. Kaipo, understanding the severity of the situation from Koa's shock and the blood in the water, quickly scanned the area, but Lani was nowhere to be seen. The water was darkening fast, making the search increasingly difficult. Realizing time was of the essence, Kaipo immediately radioed for emergency assistance, knowing they had to begin the search for Lonnie, though he feared the worst. Hours after the attack, a coordinated search effort was underway. Several boats navigated through the sea as local residents rushed to help, with news of the situation spreading rapidly. Just after midnight, one of the search teams spotted a large shark near the area where Lonnie was last seen. The shark, an 18-foot great white, was captured and brought aboard a rescue vessel. The shark, weighing 1,750 pounds, was a formidable and terrifying sight. Upon examination, the grim reality was confirmed. Inside the shark's stomach, they found bone fragments and pieces of Lonnie's bathing suit, leaving no doubt about her fate. Koa, devastated and in shock, struggled to stay composed as the enormity of what had happened sank in. The community mourned the loss of Lonnie, with the story making headlines as one of the worst shark attacks in Hawaii's history. Thank you for watching this episode of Animal Quests. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be uploading many exciting new episodes in the coming weeks, so stay tuned and don't miss out.